Hello, and welcome to another How to OU at USU. In today's video, we will be going over how to create an alternating feed layout, or at least that's what I'm calling it, using a text editor and just good old-fashioned Bootstrap 4 classes. So, to begin, this is a wireframe of what we'll be making today. We'll also add a row above it that'll include an H1. You can see I'm already logged into OU Campus, so I'll go to the correct folder where I want this page to live. I'll create the new page. I'll call it alternating feed, because that's kind of what it is, or at least that's what it kind of looks like to me. That's not like an official name or anything. That's what I decided to call it, so that's what it is. I'll click that green edit button, delete everything, I don't need that, and then I will save. And then I can save and close because I'm just going to go into my text editor and actually create this layout. So, again, we use Twitter Bootstrap. What does that mean? That means we can go to getbootstrap.com and everything on their site includes a bunch of CSS classes that we can use. So if you don't know about the grid system in Bootstrap 4, you can go and read up on it. It's pretty straightforward. Bootstrap is set up so that way we have columns. There are 12 columns, and you can create layouts with those columns just by specifying how many of the columns it needs to take up. In fact, right here, you see this right here, we have a row that takes up 8 of the 12 columns, and then another column that takes up 4 of the columns, if that makes sense. I'm using the word column a lot. But you can kind of see, and that's actually exactly what we're going to end up typing over here in our text editor. So I've already opened my text editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code. You can use whatever text editor you want. I like Visual Studio Code, and I like it because it has a thing called Emmet pre-built into the editor. Emmet allows you to create markup templates very quickly with some shorthands, and so I highly recommend getting it. I will be using the shorthands in this video, so if you want to follow along, don't know how to install Emmet, look it up on YouTube. You can figure it out. It's really easy, or just use Visual Studio Code. So to begin, we'll create a div tag, and we'll need to specify that it will have a class on it of row, and that div tag is going to have a child tag, so it's going to have a tag inside of it, so that way, you know, it's kind of this nesting idea. That's going to take up all 12 of our columns, so I'm going to say col-12, and that's going to say take up all 12 of the columns. Then I'm going to give that a child, and I'm going to say H1, and then I'm going to push tab. And then what that does is it created my row with taking up all 12 columns and gave me an H1. This is where your header would go, header. Nice. And then we'll go ahead and start creating our layout. So this first one is going to be a lot like this one, actually, only exactly opposite. So instead of it being 8 and then 4, it's going to be 4 and then 8. So I will type that out, div.row, so that way I create a row, give it a child. That first child needs to be a div. That first div should take up all 12 columns on the smallest of devices. I'm talking like a cell phone. But on iPads and tablets and devices bigger than a phone, it should take up 4 of the columns, right? That's what we have. Yep, take up 4 of those columns. So I'll say col SM for small device, and then 4. And that'll be this first box, this first division, this first thing. And then we'll go ahead and create the second one, which will be another div. I use the plus sign to indicate that it's not going to be nested inside of this div. It's going to be a sibling. It's going to be something at the same level. So this box, this div, exists at the same level as this div. Okay, that's what that plus mark does. Again, super on cell phones, it should just stack horizontally. You should always stack horizontally on a phone. There's nothing to it. And then we'll specify our next class, which is col SM, and we will say -8. And that'll take up 8 of the 12 columns. So this first division takes up 4 of those columns. This second one takes up 8. And then I push tab, and that is our first row. Cool. And I'll go ahead and throw some paragraph tags with some lorem ipsum in there real quick for us, just so that way when we throw it back into OU Campus, we can kind of see it. You could also put your images, you know, put your images in there, put your headers in there, whatever you need to put in there. So let's make this second row from our wireframe, right? And we'll do that by typing in div.row, and what is that? That's a greater than sign. Then we're going to say div.col-12, so that way on cell phones it takes up the smallest device. And then last time we said 4 for this first one. We want it to alternate, right? So we'll say col SM8, right? And then siblings, so that way there's another division, div col12, and then col SM4. So the second div takes up 4 of the columns on small devices, small being iPad and tablet and those sorts of things. And then this first div takes up 8 on small devices. And then again, cell phones always take up 12, just because always take up 12 on cell phones. And then we'll just push tab. You'll notice there it gave me a little bit of trouble. I had to delete the last character, type in a 4 again, then push tab, and then it magically works. So cool. I believe I still have that lorem ipsum on my clipboard, so I'll just reuse that. Cool. And then with that, I have created these first 2 rows from our layout, and I'm lazy. I'm a good web developer. I'm lazy. And I can see that these next 2 are just the exact same. So I'm just going to copy them all at once and paste that in there. And then, you know, after you've kind of made your layout and you have what you want, you can adjust the content as needed and stuff. And it's not the end of the world. I mean, I could right now underneath it go ahead and add another row with something else. I don't know. Let's say I wanted to take up, let's take up 3 columns each. So there'll be 3 boxes. So we'll put that as a 4, and we'll just do that so I can add another row right underneath it and keep going. Doesn't matter. And then you can go back and change it, whatever you need to do. Once you have it all ready, you know, just highlight it all, cut it or copy it, and go back to OU Campus. Go into edit mode, find your source code button, paste it in. Wada boom, wada bang, piece of cake. And you can kind of see it's following that same wireframe. The only difference is I added a row for the header because this wireframe should have included that. So then you can use your show blocks too. So, and you can still edit it in the WYSIWYG. It's not gonna hate you or stop you or anything. It might do some funny things, and because it could do some funny things, I do recommend just using your text editor. It just gives you more control and a little bit more flexibility to create things quickly. But yeah, do you. However you want to get your work done, go for it. Just get your stuff done. Cool. And we'll publish that again. Normally it has to have a title and a meta description and can't have lorem ipsum and all of the basic stuff, but we already know that for example purposes. I published it so we can check it out and make sure that it's doing what we want. So I copied that slug it being everything that comes after the domain name in the URL, which happens to exist right here in the text editor. And then I'll go to that page and I can see exactly what got set up. So cool. Hopefully that has been helpful. Bootstrap is great. And once you get used to it, it's super, super straightforward and easy. It's just a little bit of learning. Just take the time, read up on this page, and you'll understand it. And you'll also be able to do other cool things like what they're doing here. It's pretty straightforward. So cool. Hopefully that's been helpful. Thanks. Bye.